Welcome back to the second episode of the Possum Creek Knifeworks radio show. Glad to have you guys with me. The show last week was a pretty big success, I thought. We got about 200 views so far on the old YouTube hits page. I thought that was outstanding. I mean, there's a kitten and hedgehog video that my kid likes to look at, and it's got about 9 million hits, but what can I say? I'm not a kitten or a hedgehog, so I can understand. Anyhow, it's going good this week. It's been a pretty fine week. Gotten some knives sold. The last week's show sold a couple of knives immediately, and then there were a couple more knives that sold through the week for, whatever reason. I dig it. This has been pretty good success so far, I think. I think we're going to keep it up. As you may notice, the sound quality varies through this show. Some of it sounds like last week's show, and some of it sounds a little better. And that's due to the fact that I got me a brand new microphone. It's not a very expensive one or a big one or anything like that, but I like it. It's okay. And I think I'm probably going to be using it as long as it don't turn into too big of a hassle. So without much further ado, let's get on to talking about the topics of the week. And I hope y'all enjoy the show.
It's been raining here off and on all day. It's sort of finally settled down, but it's been a real gentle rain. We usually don't get those. Normally around here, anytime it rains, it just blows in sideways. So a little slow, gentle rain, that is quite the blessing. Started raining, I guess, around 1 a.m. last night. The rain always wakes me up drumming on the metal roof above my head. But so far, hadn't made the creek run. It's going to have to pretty soon, though, or I'm going to have to get out there and pick all the ticks off the catfish. As some of you may be aware, I run a little hunting, game, and management service. It's called Wildman, because that's me. Anyhow, it's a little side income, but we do everything from guide you to where the game is all the way down to, I'll keep your campsite well stocked, make sure your deer feeders are fed during the off season. Anyway, it's a nice little side business, and it's a great way, if you're an outdoorsman, to add a little income to your homesteading farm. Anyway, the other day I went down to the hill country here in Texas, which is just a great hunting area, and it's filled with all sorts of hunting ranches and taxidermy shops and everything. I stopped in this one taxidermy shop I'd never been into, and I wanted to give them my card, introduce myself. Well, they gave me this list of all these different animals that they stuff and what the prices were. I was looking through this earlier. Did you know to get a life-size hippo taxidermied, it's $22,500? Now, heck, that sounds like a bargain to me. Who would not want a life-size hippo in their living room? That just sounds awesome. You probably put your hat on it, be a nice little table. Maybe you could have it mounted a little shorter than life-size, and that way you could use it as your supper table. The hippo is a little cheaper than the rhino, which is $25,000. That's just hilarious to me. First of all, not a lot of hippo out here in West Texas. So where are you going to get one? I guess if you find a hippo, it's going to be somewhere in a hippo habitat. So then what do? Well, I shoot a hippo. Okay, great. I've got a giant dead hippo. Who even knows how to butcher a hippo, skin out a hippo? I don't. Never skinned out a hippo. Never gutted a hippo. I imagine that they probably got the largest liver I've ever seen. Anyhow, fine, great. I've got a now gutted dead hippo in Africa, and I need to get it here to West Texas to get it stuffed and mounted. What exactly is shipping on a large, frozen, dead hippo? Does customs get involved? Will UPS ship my hippo? These are all questions that come to mind as I look over this price list. Anyway, it's very, very interesting world. I looked at the showroom for this taxidermy shop, though, and man, they do some excellent work. I mean, if you get one of their hippos, it's going to be the best looking hippo you ever saw. For this week's gardening, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite plants, the okra plant. First off, it grows real easy from seed. You soak the seeds for a day or two, then you plant them where you want them. Not real picky, and they just come up and do awesome. Often, when I'm planting an okra seed, I'll plant them in groups of three seeds in every little hole, and all three will come up. Then I just wait a little while and pick the winner. It's sort of the Hunger Games of gardening in that I pick the seedlings that do real well and the other ones get discarded or fed to the rabbits. So the okra is very prolific. It puts out a lot of fruit that's very delicious, and you can use it in almost everything. We do it primarily in gumbo, soups, and stir fries, and when we have excess, I pickle it. It is tasty. Okra thrives on heat, and that's one of the reasons that it does well here. Okra came over with the slave trade from Africa, and I guess it found fertile soil here. A lot of times it's considered a poverty food. A lot of people don't plant it in their garden, particularly up north, for whatever reason. I guess it's just got sort of a bad rap for being slimy, for being cheap. Anyway, for whatever reason, those people are missing out. They don't know a good thing. Okra is fantastic, and you just can't grow enough of it. I love okra. It is somewhat of a heavy watering plant. You gotta give it plenty of water, but other than that, okra is not hard to grow. It outcompetes weeds. Weeds can't handle okra. They just grow right up around it. And probably the best factor I like about okra is how easy it is to cook with. There's nothing you're going to do wrong with okra. Anyway, y'all get out there and y'all plant y'all some okra. I think you're going to enjoy it. I was reading recently where some fellows were wondering how homesteaders found the time to do other things, like, say, posts on blogs and YouTube channels and whatnot. Well, I think there's a basic misunderstanding about homesteading that we need to clear up. First off, we're not commercial farmers. We don't have 380 acres of corn that we have to get in. We've got smaller plots that are what our family needs. We don't have big, heavy equipment generally. We've got bits and pieces of this, that, and the other. Therefore, there's fewer bank payments, fewer loans that have to be serviced, etc. And this affords us a lot more free time because, unfortunately, a lot of commercial farmers aren't working for themselves. They're employees of the bank. That's a shame. And probably one of the most difficult things I had to learn about homesteading was that work has its own pace. You're not an employee. You're not a 40-hour-a-week salary man. You're not a commercial farmer. So, well, for example, here in the workshop, metal has to cool, glue has to dry. There are long periods of waiting in between projects and different things we're doing. It's the same out there in the field. Chickens got to peck around, and goats got to graze. The garden's got to grow. You put in a seed, and it takes a little while for it to become a plant. That's just the way it is. Things have their own slower pace than it does in the corporate and industrial world. In general, homesteaders, they do what they do to live. They don't do what they do to make a whole lot of money. You make money so that you can continue homesteading. That's the rule.
Woo, it's hot around here today. About 96 degrees. Yesterday, a storm rolled through, and about 75 degrees, I think, was the middle of the afternoon high. I thought that was just heavenly, but didn't drop any rain. Rain this week's been a little problematic. We got some earlier in the week when I recorded that first segment, but then we never really got any yesterday. That storm that rolled through yesterday got real angry looking, and there was a lot of flashing and lightning and wind blowing and shaking and rumbling, and we didn't get a drop out of it. So it was kind of what I call a politician rainstorm. A lot of wind and noise and no real substance. We're trying to adjust to our new summer schedule around here, which is come summer we get up real early, about dawn, and we work till it gets too hot, and that's about 10 or 11. And then we kind of go inside and sit in the shade in front of fans. I retreat to my workshop where the earth bag structure keeps things pretty cool. Plus I got a nice little fan in here, and I'm in the shade. So I can work on knives during the heat of the day, and then of an evening, we get back out. And this means I go to bed pretty early most nights and get up early most mornings. I don't care. It's a nice schedule, and you just can't get out in the heat of the day. It'd kill a normal man. And I'm not going to go put myself into the hospital with heat stroke. That's just plumb foolish. It doesn't help your homesteading much if you got to pay a big old hospital emergency bill, does it? So we get by. You got to slow your pace down a little bit and just work around the weather. People up north got to work around the weather. They only have about half or a little bit more of that for the year that's usable. And the rest of the year they're buried in snow. They got to sit in front of the fireplace. So we're kind of the opposite here. We can get more done in the winter than we can in the summer. But we persevere, we endure. That's what we do. We'll bear through the heat. Pond's getting real low. I'm about to have to pump the rest of what I can into the storage tank so that we'll have drinking water for us and the livestock for the rest of the summer. And we're about to enter into stage 4 drought restrictions. I don't know what that really means to me because I'm not on any sort of water grid, but they're talking about it like it's a big scary thing. I guess it is for those who are hooked up to it. They won't let them water anything, no trees, no garden, no yard or nothing. They're all going to just drive around with dirty cars, which I don't fully understand because, heck, most of those people waste more water in a day flushing their toilets than we do in a month. But that's water restrictions for you. If you're going to hook up to the grid, you got to suffer through what the grid says to do. Anyhow, we're going to bear through the heat. Pray for us. Well, it looks like this show is about in the can, so we're doing pretty good. This is getting a little easier. I think the technology is coming together. It certainly is yielding the fruit that I wanted it to yield. It's not real difficult to do, and it's selling some knives. So y'all folks are a real blessing to me. I really appreciate y'all showing up. Wish y'all would send me some emails or some comments or something at the email address provided. Love to talk to you, find out what you're doing. Maybe I'll read them on the show if you want. Hang in there, guys. This is kind of a bad news cycle lately. Things are sounding really dire out there with the economy and killings and train wrecks and everything else that's going on. But we're still here. Hopefully you are going to be too. With the mercy and compassion of the Lord, we'll all make it through whatever's in store for us. And I think we as homesteaders, we can bear up against pretty much whatever the world throws against us. After all, we thrive on this sort of thing. So, Lord bless, visit the knife shop, see if there's anything you want. And most of all, y'all take care of yourself and y'all be y'all. Bye.